Money is on the way from the federal government to help small businesses and their employees stay afloat during these challenging times, when many have been forced to shut their doors due to the COVID-19 emergency. But for some, the money hasn't come quickly enough, or there have been some frustrating bottlenecks they've had to deal with. Gregory Pullman, a senior vice president at Berkshire Bank, walks us through the process and the programs designed to help stabilize things until the virus has run its course. We held a Zoom interview with him on Friday, April 10th. First of all, Mr. Pullman, thank you very much for making the time available to talk with us today about the assistance that's going to be available or is already available, we hope, for folks who have been either lost their jobs or for small businesses that are struggling to stay afloat during this emergency here. So let's have you explain to us kind of what are some of the procedures and avenues in place for folks to kind of get some help here. And why don't we start then with this, the Payroll Protection Program, or PPP, or Triple P as it's known. That's something new, I think, that came in place with the CARES Act that Congress passed a few weeks back for the $2 trillion package, although that has Congress set aside, I think, $349 billion. Billions, trillions, millions seem to kind of fall into place here. Anyway, so what does the Payroll Protection Plan do, and how is it supposed to work?
Okay, the Payroll Protection Program was put in place so that small businesses can keep paying their employees during these difficult times and allow them being the employees, to take care of their families, pay their bills, etc. Now, the small business can use 25% of whatever they qualify for to pay utilities, mortgage interests, and some of those expenses. So the plan is really geared towards the small business employee, okay, and keeping them on the payroll. For businesses that may have laid people off prior to the passing of PPP, they can bring those employees back and put them back on the payroll using the dollars they got from PPP. Prior to PPP, there was a program called EIDL, which is Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is a direct program from SBA, which can be applied for at their website, and it's for up to $2 million, and you can use it for, other purposes, okay? You can't go to EIDL, borrow money for payroll, and then go into the PPP program and borrow money for payroll. They should be two different purposes.
So are those loans like forgivable, or how is it supposed to work? I mean, a small business is going to get some assistance to stay in business, keep their workers on the payroll, and then what? Do they have to pay the money back eventually?
In the EIDL, the direct assistance, those loans are typically paid back with terms up to 30 years at 3.75% interest. Very reasonable. The PPP plan is forgivable if the company retains their employees, retains their payroll, and only uses no more than 25% of the money for those other purposes that I discussed. As long as they do that, then it is forgivable.
So it sounds like there's been a lot of bottlenecks and issues with getting the money out the door to folks that have applied. I've been hearing a lot of things like people waiting for hours on hold on the telephone, and websites that are crashing and all of that. This rollout, I gather, has not been smooth.
No, it hasn't, but I would say this. I would say everybody's trying to do the right thing, right? We all want to help, we all want our communities to get back thriving. I mean, the SBA had in the legislation 15 days to put this in place. They did it in 6. They stood this program up in 6 days, okay? And there are some great people at the SBA that deserve a lot of credit for working around the clock to do that. But with anything, you have a 30 plus year program in place called the SBA 7A program. And that's the program they've elected to have banks channel this money out into the business community. And you're kind of rewriting 30 years of kind of rules and regulations. There's a lot to be interpreted. There's a lot of guidance needed. I would say that as far as this program goes, it's kind of rolling guidelines, okay? Every day we get clarification. Every day we get guidance. So, the initial bottleneck was, okay, the Treasury said you could go in and apply and get your money the same day. Well, we had gotten the guidelines from SBA on this program at the Thursday night before that press conference. So it was a scramble as we all tried to set up systems and processes to handle the onslaught of applications we knew we were going to get. So, for instance, some banks opened up last Friday and accepted applications. We elected to spend the weekend kind of setting up process and procedures. So, we probably got ballpark 2,000 applications on Monday. So there's your first bottleneck, right? All of these things come in. Then you have to look through them, look at them, make sure that their 941 tax report kind of jives with the amount that they're looking for. And so there is a little bit of labor intenseness that goes into these things. So that was the initial bottleneck. Now we're getting through ours and communicating with borrowers. My wife is a small business owner, and she went to another bank, and they said, we'll be ready at noon on Friday. And she applied, and they said, well, we're not ready yet. We'll be ready sometime this weekend. Then she got a confirmation that her application was accepted. And then they came back and asked her for more information, 941s, the information that you need. And we didn't know because we didn't have guidelines. So I apologize to go on a long way here, but it's important to understand what was stood up in the space of a few days to help American small businesses.
So do you think those bottlenecks are easing off at this point, or will be easing off in the next week or so that this goes more smoothly?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I believe so. From our perspective, we work with our software vendor to create a portal and create a checklist and kind of do our best, even though there's some, you got to set eyes on something, automate the intake and the processing. And my team, let me tell you, 38 people, all hands on deck, handling all the requests, not all the requests, but a lot of the requests from Berkshire Bank, because, that's we're the SBA lending department pretty much for Berkshire Bank. So the other bottleneck that needs to be identified is the bottleneck when you get to funding the loan. Okay. The first thing SBA said was, let me take a step back, Andrew. When you do these applications, then you put it into the SBA's system. Okay. And you do this one at a time, and it's manual. So you're putting it into SBA to get an approval in SBA to kind of lock up that money, okay? So that your borrower now knows they're locked in. They got a piece of that $349 billion. Then the SBA came out and said, well, you have to fund this loan in 5 days. Well, they had not provided any guidance on a note. They had not provided us guidance on how we should close these or how we should document these. And, they, again, when I say rolling guidelines, they were coming out on a daily basis and providing us. Again, everybody trying to do the right thing, everybody trying to accomplish the same thing, but it was difficult. And so I'm just moving my camera there. So that now has become the next bottleneck. Now, with pushback in the industry, we've gotten that to 10 days now. So the SBA said, okay, you have 10 days from the day you get the SBA approval in our system. You have 10 days to document and fund the loan.
And I was just wondering, do you have to be a pre-existing account or a client of a particular bank to apply for one of these, or could you apply, like for
That's a
instance, if I
that's a
wanted to, could I apply to 3 or 4 banks and just hope to, you know, the first one
well,
that responds is the one I go with?
that's a great question, and some people did that. And it's disheartening because we're working our tails off, and then we go do all this work and we go put the deal into SBA system, and it goes boink, this person already has a loan. So we've exhausted to get to that point. And I understand small businesses are concerned. Look, I get it. I owned a small business, so I understand the anxiety. But what we've tried to do with our Berkshire customers is keep them updated, let them know that we got their back. We're taking care of them. But you don't have to have an account at a certain bank. But this is the issue, and it's important that the borrowers know this. In the act, they still emphasize to banks that you have to comply with bank secrecy. And Bank Secrecy Act has a lot of hoops and things to jump through about know your customer, right? So it's logical and practical to the first folks that you're going to help are the folks that you know and you can get done quickly, okay? So that's the reality. Now, as we get through our existing customers, we will discuss with executive management about going out and accepting applications from other folks.
So there's also been a lot of talk, at least up here in southern Vermont, and I'm sure everywhere else, about where do independent contractors or the self-employed folks or people in the gig economy fit in? I mean, are they supposed to just basically do what you were just describing there, call up the bank and say, hey, I need help, and what do I need to do? Is that how they fit in?
Well, mention is there's lots of information at treasury.gov. They have the application, they have frequently asked questions, they have a lot of good guidance there. So I would suggest they go there, because the way this program works, it's a little tricky, is if a business applies for PPP assistance and they have 1099 employees or contracted employees, they're supposed to exclude that from their loan calculation and their their wages and payroll, because those 1099 employees are supposed to now, as of today, Friday, April 10th, loan for assistance through PPP. So to answer your question, yeah, go to your bank, where you bank, and you can, again, download the application at treasury.gov and submit it to your bank. Treasury announced a huge backstop plan that I read on CNBC, where they're really stepping up to back this thing up. So I would say that, yeah, the $349 billion is gonna get exhausted, but people, there's so much fear mongering and rumors out there that somebody emailed me the other day and said the money was going on Monday. I said, no, it's not. Everybody calm down. Everybody relax. All right. Get your documentation together and apply at your bank. You should be okay if you do that right now. Now, I believe the Senate was discussing more funding last night, but it got shot down. A wise man and my business partner once told me, never bet against the U.S. economy. And I wouldn't bet against it. My biggest concern is a little bit self-centered in that I've been 25 years in SBA lending. Most of my colleagues are very good stewards of this program. We do good work. But I fear for fraud from borrowers and potentially from lenders that are coming in to participate in this program who may not have been SBA lenders before. And, in 2 or 3 years, if there's been fraud, they're going to expose it and they're going to give the SBA 7A program a black eye that it doesn't deserve, because nobody will remember the anxiety, the stress, and everything that we've all gone through to make this happen.
Well, Mr. Pullman, thank you once again for your time. I'll let you get back to processing those loans or whatever.
Yeah.
And wish you and your colleagues well through this very difficult period. And thanks again for making the time to talk with us and share your insights into all of this.
My pleasure, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Okay. You can visit the Vermont Department of Labor's website or the Agency of Commerce and Community Development's website for more information. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.